The first time I saw Karen, she was standing on the edge of my driveway, arms crossed, sunglasses on, lips pursed like she'd just tasted something sour. I had just moved into my new cabin, a quiet little piece of paradise on the edge of Pinewood Lake. My land wasn't part of any homeowners association. That was the whole point. I wanted peace. No rules about fence colors, no board meetings about mailboxes, no neighbors measuring my grass height. But apparently, Karen didn't get the memo. The first words she ever said to me were, "Excuse me, sir, you can't live here." I blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" She gestured to my cabin like it was a war crime. "This area is under the Pinewood HOA. You can't build, live, or park here without approval." I smiled politely. "Actually, ma'am, my property line is just outside the HOA boundary. See that old oak tree? That's the marker. The association stops right there." Her eyes narrowed like she was calculating something sinister. "Well, that's not what I heard. I'll have to confirm with the board." And that was how it began, the War of Pinewood Lake. At first, I tried to ignore her. Karen was just one of those neighbors who liked to feel important. I figured if I kept to myself, she'd lose interest. But within a week, she was back. This time, she had a clipboard. "I noticed your trash bins are visible from the street," she said, tapping her pen. I looked around. "Street, you mean?" "This gravel path. Yes, according to HOA regulations, trash receptacles must be screened from view." I laughed. "Karen, again, I'm not in your HOA." She gave me that tight smile again. "We'll see about that." A few days later, I got a letter in my mailbox, an official-looking notice with the Pinewood HOA logo. It said I was being fined $250 for unauthorized occupancy. I couldn't decide whether to laugh or scream. I called the number on the letter. "Pinewood HOA office, this is Cheryl," said a cheerful voice. "Yeah, hi," I said. "I think there's been a mistake. I'm at 147 Lakeview and—" "Oh, that's the new cabin," she interrupted. "You're actually not under our HOA, sir. We'll take care of that right away." 2 days later, another letter arrived, this time hand-delivered. Karen had scribbled across the envelope. "Nice try. You can't fool us." Inside, she'd printed another fake notice demanding I stop living illegally on association land. That's when I realized this wasn't just nosiness. It was personal. The following week, Karen escalated. I came home one afternoon to find her standing on my porch, taking pictures. "Karen!" I shouted. "What the hell are you doing?" She didn't even flinch, documenting violations. "You'll be hearing from us soon." I pulled out my phone and started recording. "Okay. Karen, since you're on my property and not part of your precious HOA, I suggest you leave before I call the police." She snorted. "You won't call anyone. You're squatting here, that was it." I called the county office the next day and had them send me official documentation. Property maps, boundary lines, the whole deal. The report clearly showed that my cabin was outside HOA jurisdiction. I laminated it and hung it right by the door, but that didn't stop her. A few nights later, I heard a noise, metal clanging outside. I grabbed my flashlight and went out to find Karen and another man from the HOA trying to put up a "No Trespassing HOA property" sign on my land. I shouted, "Are you two insane?" Karen huffed, "We're marking the border. You can't just claim land that isn't yours." I shoved the paperwork in her face. "This is from the county. You're trespassing. Leave now or I'll call the sheriff." The man beside her looked nervous. "Maybe we should go, Karen." She glared at me, then muttered something about lawyers and stormed off. For a while, things went quiet. I thought maybe she'd finally accepted defeat. But of course, peace doesn't last long when Karen lives next door. 2 weeks later, I came home from work and found something unbelievable. My driveway blocked. A row of orange cones and a big wooden sign that said, "Private HOA Road. Residents only." And right there, sitting in a folding chair next to it, was Karen. I rolled down my window. "Move the cones," she crossed her arms. "You can't drive here. This road belongs to the HOA." I gestured down the path. "Karen, this road leads directly to my property. The county maintenance map shows it's public access." She smirked. "Not anymore. The HOA voted to restrict usage." I took a deep breath. "Karen, you don't have jurisdiction here." She leaned closer to my window and whispered, "We'll see what the police have to say." So I called her bluff. I parked my truck right in front of the cones, stepped out and dialed the sheriff's office. When the deputy arrived about 20 minutes later, Karen was already in full performance mode, hands waving, voice loud, telling him how I was illegally living in the woods and stealing HOA land. The deputy turned to me. "Sir, do you have any documents to show where your property line is?" I smiled and handed him my laminated boundary map. He studied it for a moment, then looked at Karen. "Ma'am, his cabin and driveway are completely outside the HOA's jurisdiction. You can't block public access or harass him." Karen's face turned red. "That can't be right. The HOA map says—" He cut her off. "The county map overrides the HOA's. You're trespassing on his property, ma'am." Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. "Trespassing? I was just protecting our neighborhood." The deputy sighed. "I suggest you stop protecting it before you get charged for harassment." She glared at me like I'd just destroyed her empire. "You'll regret this," she hissed before storming off to her golf cart. After that, word spread fast. The whole neighborhood found out Karen had been humiliated by the police. For once, her authority didn't mean anything. For the first time in months, I actually got to enjoy my mornings. No knocks, no letters, no photos. I'd sit on my porch, sip my coffee, and listen to the birds instead of Karen's nagging voice echoing across the lake. But then, because fate has a sense of humor, she tried one last move. About a month later, I came home to find an envelope taped to my door. This time it wasn't from the HOA, it was from a lawyer. Inside, a letter claimed that I was damaging community property by diverting rainwater runoff from my cabin's roof. It was absurd. My cabin was on a slope that drained away from her property. I called the lawyer's office. He sounded tired. "Sir, I'm only sending this because my client insisted. Frankly, I told her this isn't a valid claim." I couldn't help but laugh. "Let me guess. Her name's Karen." He chuckled. "Yeah. How'd you know?" That was the last straw. I decided to go on offense. I gathered every document, every fake notice, every video of her trespassing, and sent it all to the county sheriff's office with a harassment complaint. I also CC'd the HOA president and the property management company. 2 weeks later, Karen got a formal warning. When I saw her next, she wouldn't even look at me. She drove past my cabin without stopping. Her sunglasses hiding what I could only imagine was pure rage and humiliation. A few weeks later, something unexpected happened. The HOA president, an older man named Tom, stopped by my cabin. "Hey," he said awkwardly, "just wanted to apologize on behalf of the association." "Karen, she kind of went rogue." I smiled. "I noticed. She's been removed from the board," he continued. "Too many complaints. I guess she didn't handle being told no very well." I handed him a cup of coffee. "No hard feelings. I just wanted to live quietly." He nodded. "Well, you've got that now. And trust me, nobody's going to bother you again." Now, whenever I sit on my porch at sunset, I look across the lake and see Karen's old house, for sale sign sitting proudly in her front yard. She moved out not long after the HOA dropped her. Rumor has it, she tried to start a new neighborhood association somewhere else. Some people just can't survive without control. As for me, I got exactly what I wanted. Peace, quiet, and the sweet satisfaction of knowing that sometimes the best revenge isn't shouting. It's winning quietly. So what do you think? Was I right to stand my ground against HOA Karen, or should I have just let it go? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed the story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another crazy real-life story like this one. See you in the next video.